In the huge quiet of space, the Galactic Concordance called an emergency meeting. The round chamber was bright with many colored lights. Representatives from hundreds of alien species sat or floated or stood in their places. Some had feathers, some had scales, some looked like living stone or soft glowing mist. In the middle stood the Caliph group. They were tall and thin. Their bodies looked like clear crystal. Light moved through them and made gentle rainbow patterns on the floor. Their leader, Elder Vera, walked slowly to the speaking platform. Everyone became silent. Her voice was soft, but carrying pain. We speak today with broken hearts. Our home system faces death. A thing we call the Vorak Blight attacks our worlds. It is made of billions of tiny machines, so small the eye cannot see them. They eat metal, they eat rock, they eat plants and animals, and even our own people. They make copies of themselves faster than we can destroy them. The chamber stayed very still. Most species already knew the story of the Blight. Many years ago, during a terrible war between old empires, one side created these nanites as a secret weapon. The war ended, the empires fell, but the Blight did not stop. It broke free and started moving through space like a slow, gray sickness. We tried every way we know, Elder Vera said. Our greatest minds worked day and night for many cycles. We built walls of energy, we used fire from our suns, we sent special viruses to fight the nanites. Nothing worked. 3 of our outer planets are already dead. The 4th will die soon. Our homeworld, Kale Prime, will be next. We have no more time. A faint blue glow appeared around her crystal body. For the Caliph, that glow showed deep sadness and fear. We are not a warrior people. Our bodies are fragile. Our minds seek peace and beauty, not battle. So, we do the only thing left to us. We ask the galaxy for help. Any help at all. She looked slowly around the chamber, meeting the eyes, or sensors, of every delegate. We offer everything we have left, our knowledge, our technology, our empty moons and unused stars. We only want our people to live. Please, if any of you can save us, we beg you now. The message ended. The recording flew out across the galaxy at the speed of light. Every listening station caught it. Every species with a ship or a colony heard the plea. Many felt pity. Some sent small gifts, boxes of food, bottles of clean water, messages that said, "We are sorry." A few offered scientists to study the problem, but only after many years of planning. No one believed the Blight could be stopped. The best experts called it a death sentence. The Caliph, they said, were already finished. Far away on a blue planet called Earth, the same message arrived. In a tall building in a place named New Geneva, human leaders sat around a long table. They came from every nation. They called their group the Unified Command Council. Big screens on the walls showed pictures from Caliph space. Green worlds turning gray, cities covered in crawling silver dust, skies filled with dark clouds of nanites. The president stood up. Her voice was steady. They asked for help. Not credits, not promises. Real help to stay alive. A general with short gray hair nodded. We know plagues. Not this exact kind, but close enough. Our old records talk about sicknesses that almost ended us too. An engineer wearing work clothes and still holding a wrench spoke next. We are good at building things quickly. We fix large problems. This looks like the largest problem yet. They discussed it carefully. No one yelled. No one walked out angry. Maps appeared on screens. Numbers showed how many ships, how much fuel, how many people they could send. Doctors explained medical needs. Scientists talked about the nanites. Everyone listened. After 6 hours, the vote came. Every hand rose. Yes. The message they sent back was only 5 words long. It traveled fast through relay stations until it reached the Caliph. Help is coming. Hold on. When the elders of Kale Prime heard those words, Something changed inside them. A tiny spark of hope appeared after so much darkness. Their crystal skin glowed just a little brighter for a moment. They pictured what might come. Perhaps one human science ship with clever minds, or a hospital vessel full of doctors. Maybe a team of experts who would study the blight for years and find one small answer. They thought the humans would arrive slowly, in 20 cycles or 30. Time enough to say proper goodbyes if nothing worked. They did not understand yet what humans meant when they took a request seriously. Back on Earth, everything started moving at once. Deep under the oceans, factories woke up with loud noises. On the moon, digging machines tore into black craters faster than ever. In the wide rings around Saturn, cargo ships changed course and flew toward giant construction yards in empty space. People stepped forward by the millions. Engineers packed their tools and said goodbye to families. Doctors filled bags with medicine and scanners. Soldiers hugged children one last time and boarded dark transports. Even normal workers, teachers, cooks, drivers, asked the same thing. When do I leave to help? News screens showed school children making drawings of big spaceships. The pictures had bright words. Save the crystal people. No one laughed at it. When someone truly needed help, humans answered. The first group to leave was not full of important speakers and clean uniforms. It was full of machines that could make more machines. Steel plates, fuel tanks, blueprints rolled into tight tubes. 300 enormous factory ships jumped toward Kala's space. Each one was bigger than most human cities. They flew at the highest safe speed, engines burning bright. After them came warships, long and sharp, covered in weapons that could break apart small moons if needed. Huge transports carried soldiers trained to fight in zero gravity, in poison air, or deep inside crumbling worlds. A single small Caliph scout ship moved out to meet the approaching fleet at the edge of their dying system. The captain, a young officer named Lear, stared at his viewing screens. He saw hundreds of giant dark shapes sliding through the black like a metal storm. He opened the communication channel. His voice trembled only a little. "This is Captain Lear of the Caliph Harmony. Please identify." A clear, calm voice answered right away. "This is Admiral Reyes, United Earth Expeditionary Force. We received your people's request for help. We are here to give it." Captain Lear looked again at the screens. He counted the factory arcs already opening wide bays. Giant arms unfolded. Builder drones flew out like bees. Warships moved into protective patterns around them. His crystal fingers tightened on the controls. "You brought all of this for us?" The Admiral's reply came without pause, simple and sure. "You asked, we came." The human ships arrived like a sudden storm at the edge of the Caliph system. The first ones to appear were the factory arcs, huge, blocky shapes that looked more like moving cities than ships. Their hulls were dark gray metal, covered in patches and welds from years of quick repairs. Lights blinked along their sides as massive doors slid open. Inside, rows of builder drones waited like sleeping insects, ready to wake and work. Captain Lear's small scout ship floated nearby, tiny next to the giants. He watched the screens in silence. His crew gathered behind him, their crystal bodies glowing faintly with worry and wonder. No one spoke for a long time. A new signal came through, the same calm human voice from before. "This is Admiral Reyes. We are beginning deployment. Please do not interfere with our operations. We will keep your remaining ships and stations safe." "Admiral, how many ships did you bring?" 312 factory units so far, the Admiral answered. "More are on the way. 42 Marine divisions, 12 battle groups, 6 full remediation teams. That is the first wave." Lear felt his crystal fingers go cold. "First wave?" "Yes. The rest will arrive over the next weeks. We are still loading more at home." The Caliph captain stared at the view screen. Already, The factory arcs were moving toward the infected outer planets. Long arms unfolded from their sides. Thick cables shot out and connected to nearby asteroids. Mining lasers lit up, cutting rock into chunks. The chunks floated toward open bays where they vanished inside the ships. Moments later, new drones poured out. Small, fast machines with glowing blue tips. These were not gentle survey drones. They carried tools to cut, burn, and rebuild. They flew straight toward the gray clouds of the blight that hung over the dead worlds. On Earth, the change had happened fast. In every city, factories roared back to life. Old assembly lines that once made cars and phones now built parts for space weapons and containment fields. Workers wore the same clothes they always did: jeans, coveralls, simple shirts. But their faces showed focus. No one complained about long hours. When the call went out, people answered. In a shipyard above Luna, a young engineer named Maria Torres stood on a catwalk. She watched as a half-finished colony hauler was cut open and rebuilt into a carrier. Cranes lifted huge rail guns into place. Welders in bright suits sparked like stars. She turned to her friend beside her. "They really need us," she said quietly. Her friend nodded. They asked, "That's enough." Maria smiled a little. "I leave in 3 days. My team is going on the remediation corps." "Good luck," her friend said. "Bring some of that human stubbornness with you." Across the planet, similar scenes played out. In factories in Lahore, welders worked through the night. In workshops in Sao Paulo, programmers wrote code for hunter drones. In schools in Tokyo, children learned basic phrases in the Caliph language so they could help later if needed. Everyone moved as one. The news channels showed maps of the operation. They called it Operation Sincere. Bright lines stretched from Sol to the Caliph system. Fleets of ships followed those lines like arrows. People at home watched and felt proud. Not loud pride, quiet pride. The kind that comes when you do what must be done. Back in Caliph space, the first attacks began. The blight reacted fast. It sensed the new machines entering its territory. Gray swarms lifted from the ruined surface of the fourth planet and rushed toward the human drones. The nanites formed thick clouds that looked like living smoke. They tried to cover the drones and eat their shells. But the human drones did not stop. Each one carried small shields that glowed red when hit. The shields burned away the first wave of nanites. Then the drones opened fire. Thin beams of blue light sliced through the clouds. Where the beams touched, the nanites sparkled and fell apart into harmless dust. More drones joined. Thousands, tens of thousands. They flew in tight patterns, sweeping the sky clean. Below on the planet, bigger machines landed. These were tracked crawlers with wide scoops. They dug into the infected soil and fed it into furnaces that glowed white-hot. The furnaces turned rock, metal, and nanites into glowing slag that poured out the back in long rivers of molten glass. Caliph observers watched from high orbit. Elder Vera floated near a viewing window in her station. Her rainbow light had dimmed. Again, she saw her world's surface change. Green patches that had survived were now black and smoking. Huge walls of purple plasma rose from the ground, human containment fields. They burned anything that tried to cross. She turned to a human liaison officer who stood beside her. The human was tall, wearing a simple gray uniform. His name was Major Chen. "Is this necessary?" Elder Vera asked. Her voice was very soft. Major Chen looked out the window. "The blight does not negotiate. It does not rest. If we leave even one living node, it will start again. We have to burn it out completely." "But our people," she started. "We are saving the pockets that still live," he said. "We mapped them already. We are building domes over them. Clean air, fresh water. Your survivors will be safe inside while we finish the rest." Elder Vera looked back at the planet. A new factory arc had moved into low orbit. Its belly opened. They pumped thick gray foam onto the surface. The foam hardened fast into a thick shield. Nothing could get through it. Under the shield, human teams worked in heavy suits, planting seeds from stored gene banks. They were already planning to regrow what they had to destroy. She felt strange. Part of her wanted to cry. Part of her felt something new, something like awe. On the command deck of the lead human ship, Admiral Reyes watched the same scenes on many screens. His face was tired but calm. A young officer approached. "Sir, the Caliph are asking again. They want to know our full plan." Reyes rubbed his eyes. "Tell them the truth. We contain, we sterilize, we rebuild. No half measures." The officer hesitated. "They seem afraid of us now." Reyes looked at him. "They should be more afraid of dying. We are giving them the only thing that works." He turned back to the screens. New reports came in. The blight was pulling back from one continent. It was gathering in the oceans, forming bigger shapes. It was learning. Reyes smiled a small, hard smile. "Good," he said quietly. "Let it learn. We have been waiting for something like this for a long time." On Earth, more ships left every day. Families stood at launch pads and waved. Children held signs that said, "We believe you," in glowing letters. The ships rose on pillars of fire and vanished into the black. No one knew how long it would take. No one cared. The Caliph had asked for help. Humans had answered with everything they had, and they were only getting started. The blight changed. It no longer just spread slowly like a gray fog. Now it fought back. On the fourth planet, the oceans boiled with dark shapes. The nanites pulled together into long, thick tendrils that rose from the water like living ropes. They reached up toward the human factory arcs in low orbit. One tendril wrapped around a mining arm and started eating through the metal. Sparks flew. Alarms screamed inside the arc. Admiral Reyes watched it happen on the main screen of his command ship. His face stayed calm. He pressed a button on his console. "Remediation teams, Priority 1. Deploy sterilizer grids on the ocean zones. Full saturation." Below, on the surface, human drop pods fell like rain. Each pod carried 10 soldiers in heavy gray suits. They hit the ground hard, kicked open the doors, and ran out. They did not carry rifles for shooting. They carried heavy tools, plasma cutters, grav lifters, and long tubes that sprayed thick blue foam. The foam hit the black tendrils and hardened fast. It turned soft nanite clouds into solid blocks that cracked under their own weight. Soldiers moved in teams. One group cut open the ground with plasma torches. Another dropped small round devices into the holes. The devices beeped once, then sent out waves of high-energy pulses. The pulses cooked the nanites inside the soil, layer by layer. One soldier, Sergeant Malik, knelt next to a cracked tendril. He scanned it with a handheld device. The screen showed red lines moving fast. "It's adapting again," he said into his helmet radio. "Trying to grow armor now." His team leader answered right away. "Noted. Switch to EMP cascades. Hit it hard." Malik pulled a black cylinder from his belt. He pressed the top. A low hum started. Then a bright flash lit the area. The tendril shook, sparked, and fell apart into gray dust. The wind carried it away. High above, Elder Vera watched from her station. She floated closer to the viewing window. Her crystal body glowed a dim, worried blue. She saw the human soldiers move across her world like ants fixing a broken nest. They built tall towers of metal and energy. The towers linked together with glowing purple lines. Soon a giant web covered half the continent. Anything the blight tried to send across the lines burned away in seconds. She turned to Major Chen, who stood beside her as always. "Your people are destroying so much," she said quietly. "Our oceans were full of life once. Now they are empty and black." Major Chen looked out too. We know, but if we leave even a drop of active nanites in the water, it will start again in a year, or 10 years, or 100. We have seen things like this before, not exactly the same, but close. Slow answers cost everything. Vera's light flickered. You speak like machines. No feeling, no pause. Shen shook his head. We feel plenty. We feel angry that this happened to you. We feel sad for what we have to burn. But mostly, we feel determined. You asked us to help. We are doing it the only way we know how to make sure it stays helped. On the 5th planet, the last one still mostly clean, the blight tried something new. It stopped spreading wide. Instead, it gathered into one huge mass at the North Pole. The mass grew taller every hour. It formed sharp spikes and wide wings. It looked like a living mountain made of silver needles. Sensors showed it pulling energy from the planet's core. It was building something big. Admiral Reyes called a quick meeting on his ship. Officers from different teams stood around a glowing table. Maps floated above it in bright colors. It's making a launcher, one scientist said. It wants to shoot spores into space. If even one gets past us, it can jump to another system. Reyes nodded. Options. A Marine colonel spoke first. We can hit it with orbital strikes. Fusion lances. Clean and fast. An engineer raised her hand. We have a better way. We disassembled 3 asteroids already. We can use the mass to build a containment shell around the pole. Drop it from orbit. Crush the thing flat and cook it under pressure. Reyes thought for a second. Do both. Strikes first to weaken it, then the shell. No risks. The orders went out. Warships moved into position. Long barrels glowed white. Then beams of pure fire lanced down. They hit the silver mountain again and again. Chunks flew off. The mass screamed, not with sound, but with bursts of radio noise that hurt the ears. After the beams stopped, the factory arcs moved closer. They dropped a giant metal bowl from high orbit. It fell slowly at first, then faster. When it hit, the ground shook across the whole planet. Dust rose in a huge cloud. Inside the bowl, the last of the blight burned under thousands of tons of pressure and heat. Kalit scouts in small ships watched from a safe distance. One young officer whispered, "They just dropped a moon on it." His friend answered softly, "No, they dropped part of one, and they have more." Back on the command ship, Reyes received the report. Containment complete on Planet 5. Losses minimal. Teams already moving to start cleanup. He leaned back in his chair. For the first time in days, he let out a long breath. A junior officer approached. "Sir, the Caliph Council wants to speak with you. They say they are grateful, but also scared." Reyes stood up. "Put them through." Elder Vera appeared on the big screen. Her rainbow light was steady now, but faint. "Admiral," she said, "you have done what no one thought possible. 3 worlds are gone, but the 4th and 5th still breathe. Our home world is safe for now. But we see what you do. You treat this plague like dirt on your floor. You clean it with fire and iron. We do not know if we should thank you or fear you." Reyes looked straight at her. "Thank us later. Fear the blight now. We are not finished." He pointed to a side screen. It showed new factory arcs arriving. Dozens more. They carried huge machines with names painted on the sides. Reclaimer 1, Seed Mother, Skyforge. These were not weapons. These were builders. "We start regrowth tomorrow," Reyes said. "We have gene banks from your old archives. We have soil formulas. We have water recyclers. Your worlds will come back greener than before. It will take time, but we stay until it is done." Virus light brightened just a little. "You would do all that, after burning so much." Reyes gave a small smile. the first one anyone had seen from him. You asked for help. Not a little help. Not careful help. Real help. That means we finished the job. All of it. The screen went dark. Vera floated in silence for a long time. Around her, other elders gathered. They spoke in low voices. Some still looked afraid. Others looked thoughtful. On the surface of the fourth planet, Sergeant Malik sat on a rock. His suit was covered in gray dust. He drank water from a tube and looked at the new purple walls growing around him. Beyond the walls, the land was black and dead. But inside, small green shoots already pushed up from planted soil. Tiny machines watered them. Lights kept them warm. He spoke into his radio. Team, take a look. First sprouts are up. Cheers came back from other soldiers. Someone laughed. Someone else started singing an old song about home. Far away, more human ships jumped into the system. Each one carried hope, wrapped in steel and fire. The Blight still had one last trick left. But humanity was ready. They always were. The Blight learned fast. Too fast. It stopped hiding in oceans or soil. It stopped making slow clouds. Now it built itself into sharp, clever shapes. On the home world of Kale Prime, the last big world still mostly alive, the nanites gathered under the northern ice cap. They ate through the frozen ground and pulled metals from deep mines. They made long, thin needles that pointed straight up at the sky. Each needle glowed with stolen energy. They were launchers. They wanted to shoot tiny seeds of themselves into space, far beyond human ships. Admiral Reyes saw the new threat on his screens right away. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge. Officers moved quickly. Voices stayed low and sharp. Launchers confirmed, a sensor officer said. 27 active. More building. If they fire, even one seed could reach the next star system in months. Reyes stood with arms crossed. We won't let them. He gave the order without raising his voice. Activate the cold storage vaults. Orion packages. Full authorization. Deep inside the biggest battlecruiser, sealed doors opened. Robots rolled out long black cylinders. Each one held an old but deadly weapon, a relativistic kill vehicle. These were not normal missiles. They used small nuclear bombs to push themselves faster and faster until they moved at a big part of the speed of light. When they hit, the force was like a small star exploding in one spot. The cylinders launched one after another. They did not curve or slow down. They flew straight at the ice cap. From far away, the Kaliths saw bright streaks cut across their night sky. The streaks looked like falling stars, but in reverse, rising from human ships and slamming down. The first vehicle hit. A white flash covered half the continent. The ice cap cracked open like glass. Shockwaves rolled across the planet. Mountains shook. Oceans jumped. The launchers bent and melted in seconds. The nanites inside them burned away before they could scream their radio noise. But the Blight did not die easy. It pulled back what was left and hid inside the planet's hot core. It used heat and pressure to grow stronger. It started sending thin threads up through volcanoes. Gray smoke poured from old mountains. The smoke carried millions of new nanites. They floated high, waiting for a chance to drift toward open space. Reyes watched the new smoke on his screens. He rubbed his chin. It's going underground. Smart. But we planned for smart. He turned to the engineer standing next to him. Her name was Dr. Lin. She wore a simple jumpsuit covered in oil stains. She had not slept in 3 days. Gas giant option, she asked. Reyes nodded. Do it. Orders went out to the outer fleet. Ships moved toward the big gas giant at the edge of the Kalith system. The giant had many moons. Humans had already started work there weeks ago. They turned 3 of the biggest moons into railgun stations. Long tracks ran across the rocky surfaces. Giant magnets hummed. Slugs of metal, made from the moons themselves, waited in lines. The ships fired. The slugs left the rails at terrible speed. They flew toward the Caliph homeworld, aimed at the smoking volcanoes. When they hit, each slug made a new sun for a moment. Fireballs rose thousands of kilometers high. The ground melted into lakes of lava. The nanite threads burned away in the heat. The smoke stopped. Elder Vera watched from her station. Her crystal body shook. She had never seen her world look so angry, so broken. Major Chen stood beside her. He spoke softly. "We saved the core biosphere. The southern forests still stand. The protected domes are safe. Your people inside them are breathing clean air." Vera's light turned a deep, sad purple. "But the rest, we used to have cities there. Rivers, mountains we loved. Now it is all fire and glass." Chen looked out the window. "We can fix glass. We can plant new forests. We cannot fix dead. This is the price of winning." She turned to him. "Your people do not even pause. You see a problem and you break the world to solve it." "We break what must be broken," he answered. "Then we build better." On Earth, people watched the live feeds. News channels showed the bright flashes and the dark scars on the alien world. Some cried, some felt sick, but most stayed quiet and kept working. Factories did not stop. Ships kept leaving. Volunteers still lined up. In a small apartment in Lahore, a young woman named Aisha sat with her family. She had signed up for the next wave. Her bag waited by the door. On the screen, she saw the human strikes light up the night. Her mother touched her arm. "Are you sure?" Aisha nodded. "They ask for help. I can build things. I can plant seeds. I can help make it green again." Her father smiled, though his eyes were wet. "Go then. Make us proud." Back in Kayla's space, the Blight tried one last push. It used what little power it had left to make a giant sphere around its last strong point, a deep crater in the northern wastes. The sphere was black and shiny. Inside, it rebuilt itself faster than ever. It pulled energy from the planet's magnetic field. It grew spikes. It grew eyes made of crystal sensors. It watched the human ships and learned their patterns. Admiral Reyes saw it on the screen. He almost laughed. "It's making a fortress. Cute." He gave the final order. "Antimatter charges. Surgical placement. No wide blasts. We want the core biosphere untouched." Small stealth drones flew down. They carried tiny bombs, each one smaller than a person's hand, but made with antimatter. The drones slipped through cracks in the black sphere. They placed the charges deep inside. Then they flew away. The detonation was quiet at first, a soft blue glow. Then the sphere folded in on itself. A hole opened in the sky. Light bent around it. Everything inside the crater vanished, not burned, not crushed, but erased. The nanites, the metal, the stolen energy, all gone in a blink. Silence fell over the system. Sensors searched. No signals, no movement, no gray dust. Reyes leaned back. Containment complete. Source system secured. Begin full reconstruction phase. Cheers came from the bridge crew. Quiet cheers. Tired cheers. They hugged. Some cried. They had won. Elder Vera received the news in her council chamber. The elders around her glowed in soft relief. She spoke to the human admiral on the big screen. "You did it," she said. "The blight is gone. Our worlds, what is left of them, still breathe." Reyes nodded. "We start tomorrow. Terraform rigs are landing. Gene printers are ready. Water purifiers. Soil builders. We bring back what we can. We make new where we must." Vera's light brightened. "How long will you stay?" "Until your people do not need us anymore," he said simply. "Years, decades if needed. We do not leave jobs half done." She looked at him for a long time. "We were afraid of you. Now we understand. You do not help because you want thanks. You help because you said you would." Reyes gave a small smile. "That's about right." The screen went dark. Vera turned to her council. They burned our sky to save our souls. They will heal what they broke. We must learn from them. Not their fire, their promise. Outside, human ships opened their bays. Long tubes dropped down. Machines rolled out. Lights came on across the scarred lands. Green started to appear in small patches under domes. The work began. The galaxy watched. Other species whispered. They saw what happened when humans took a simple request and gave everything. They decided, quietly, never to ask lightly again. The last gray cloud of the blight faded into nothing. Sensors on every human ship stayed quiet. No movement, no signals, no tiny machines trying to rebuild. The galaxy felt lighter, as if a heavy shadow had lifted. Admiral Reyes sat in his command chair. His uniform was wrinkled. Dark circles sat under his eyes. He had not slept more than 2 hours at a time in months. Around him, the bridge crew worked slowly now. They checked systems one last time. They cleaned tools. They smiled at each other with tired faces. A soft chime sounded. The main screen lit up. Elder Vera appeared. Behind her stood the full Caliph Council. Their crystal bodies glowed in soft colors, greens and yellows of hope and thanks. No more deep purple sadness. Admiral Reyes, Vera said. Her voice carried clearly through the speakers. We have finished our scans. The Vorak blight is gone. Not sleeping, not hiding, gone. You kept your word. Reyes nodded once. That was the goal. Vera looked at him for a long moment. We wish to speak with you in person, on Kale Prime, in our council hall. We want to thank you properly, all of you. Reyes stood up. We'll be there in a few hours. Small team. No ceremony needed. He chose carefully who would go with him. Major Chen, Dr. Lin, Sergeant Malik, a few engineers who had spent weeks planting the first seeds. No big group, no flags or music. Just people who had done the work. Their shuttle left the command ship and flew down through the thin clouds. Below them, the planet looked different already. Black scars still covered much of the north, but in the south, green domes glowed under bright lights. Inside the domes, trees grew fast with help from human growth lamps. Rivers ran clear again in small valleys. Birds, brought from gene banks, flew in test groups. The shuttle landed on a wide platform near the council hall. The hall was tall and made of clear crystal. Light danced inside like water. Kalith stood in rows on both sides. They did not cheer loudly. They glowed brighter when the humans stepped out. That was their way of clapping. Elder Vera walked forward. She stopped in front of Reyes. She reached out one crystal hand. Reyes took it gently. Her skin felt cool and smooth, like glass warmed by sun. Thank you, she said simply. From every living Caliph, you saved what we thought was already lost. Reyes looked around at the faces. Young ones, old ones, some still weak from months in shelters. You asked for help. We gave it. That's all. Vera's light flickered with emotion. But why so much? You changed your whole world for us. You spent treasures. You risked lives. You burned parts of our home to save the rest. Why go so far for strangers? Reyes thought for a second. He looked up at the sky, where his ships still orbited, like quiet guardians. Then he answered in the same calm voice he always used. You asked. We believed you. The words hung in the air. No one moved. The Caliph Council stared. Major Chen stood a little straighter. Dr. Lin gave a small nod. Sergeant Malik smiled quietly. Vera spoke again, softer. In all our long history, no one has ever answered like that. Most give words, some give small gifts. You gave everything, and you still give more. She turned and pointed to the open side of the hall. Outside, human machines worked under the sun. Big printers built new houses from clean stone and metal. Water tanks pumped fresh rivers into old beds. Teams of humans and Caliph worked side by side. A human engineer showed a Caliph how to adjust a soil mixer. A Caliph healer taught a human medic about crystal body medicine. Laughter came from the groups. Quiet laughter, but real. Reyes watched them. We stay until the job is done. Until your children play in forests again. Until your skies are clear without our help. Then we go home. A young Caliph stepped forward. She was small, barely grown. Her light was bright and curious. Will you come back to visit? Reyes smiled, the real one this time. Small but warm. If you invite us, yes. The council hall filled with soft glowing lights. The Caliph way of celebration. No loud noise, just color and warmth. Later, Reyes walked outside with Major Chen. They stood on a hill that overlooked a new valley. Green shoots covered the ground. Small flowers opened under artificial suns. A river ran nearby, clear and fast. Chen spoke first. Think they'll ever ask anyone for help again? Reyes shook his head. Not lightly. They learned what our help looks like. Chen laughed quietly. Terrifying earnestness. Better than polite nothing, Reyes said. They watched a group of children, human and Caliph together, run across the grass. The Kale kids floated a little when they jumped. The human kids chased them, laughing. No one cared about differences anymore. They were just kids playing. Back on Earth, the news spread slowly. People read the reports. They saw pictures of green domes and smiling faces. Factories slowed their wild pace. Some closed. Others went back to normal work. Cars, homes, schools. But the feeling stayed, the quiet pride. In a school in Lahore, a teacher showed her class the final images from Kale Prime. The children looked at the crystal people and the human workers side by side. One boy raised his hand. Will we help again, if someone asks? The teacher smiled. If they ask honestly, yes, that's what we do. The boy nodded seriously. Good. Months passed, years passed. On Kale Prime, forests grew tall again. Cities rose, new designs that mixed crystal towers with strong human steel. The air smelled clean. Children learned history. The blight, the plea, the humans who came and stayed. In the council hall, a new statue stood. It showed two figures, one Caliph, one human, hands joined, no weapons, no fire, just the promise kept. Elder Vera often stood in front of it. She touched the crystal hand and remembered the day the message came. Help is coming. Hold on. She whispered to the statue sometimes. We held on, and you came. Far away in the wider galaxy, other species talked in quiet voices. They remembered the fleet that arrived like a storm. They remembered worlds burned to save one. They remembered the simple words. You asked, we believed you. No one sent casual pleas to Earth anymore. When trouble came, they fixed it themselves first. Or they asked carefully, knowing exactly what answer they might get. And humanity? They went back to their normal days. They built homes,